Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
Youth development in Nigeria, talking about capacity building. All right. So we're also talking about various line of communication. When we talk about youth development, we're talking about capacity building. We're talking about building their mind. The 21st century challenge of every economy cannot be solved externally. It can be solved more internally. And when we talk about internally, as of today, we're talking about more than 230 to 250 million Nigerians. And out of that 250 million, we're talking about more than 70% being the youth. So what does that mean? Talking about between the age of 15 to 30, or between the age of, like United Nations says, between the age of 15 years to 25 years. The productive age. So how do we marry the activity of the older generation with the new generation? Because as of today, there's already a generational gap in terms of economy, in terms of ICT, in terms of empowerment, in terms of agriculture, in terms of food chain, in terms of different sectors. All right. So for Africa Bridge Initiative, what we developed is that as of 2017, we came together as a board and we discovered that the gap is more internal than external. So we have to look inward to solve the problem internally. So what does that mean? Africa can only be developed by Africans. Europeans, Americans cannot develop Africa because they don't understand the environmental problems that we have. Because every problem, every economy has what? The internal factor and the external factor. All right. So if the internal factor is not strong, then the external factor also is a mirage. So what does that mean? We look at different survey, different statistics, and we discover there is multidimensional poverty. And those poverty we are talking about can be poverty on paper if we don't understand the meaning of that poverty. There's already poverty of the mind. There's already poverty even in education. Because our education as of today, we're talking about education of 15th, 16th, 17th century instead of talking about the education of 21st century. Because the same syllabus I used while I was in year 1, all right, the same syllabus I used while I was already 400 level as a Nigerian is the same syllabus that is being used in the Europe as at 100 level. So what does that mean? There's already a 5-year gap, already a 10-year gap. So what I'm boasting as a knowledge base, as a capacity base, as a youth for year 2000 is what they were boast of in the year 1999 or in the year 1990 or even the year 1985. So there's already a gap in terms of economic development. So we look internally and we say, okay, as an organization, as an SDG-based organization, we look at what do we need. We need youth in ICT. We need youth in agriculture. We need youth in what? In technology, in innovation. And all of this cannot take place if, first and foremost, number one, the capacity of the mind is not enlarged. If you don't have a rich capacity, if you don't have a rich mindset, then your output will be poor. So the first thing is to look at what is the capacity of an average youth in Nigeria, an average youth in Africa. All right. And that's why recently, as at 3 years ago, we discovered that there's going to be, or there's already a gunpowder in the youth space of Nigeria, talking about drug abuse. An average young boy, even girls, secondary school, primary school, already having something to do with narcotics. That is a danger on its own. So if you are building their mind, at the same time, you must understand that there are a lot of danger around them. So how do we remove them from those dangers? We have to tackle their mind first. We have to speak to the tenets of their mind. And that's where culture comes in. That's where values comes in. That's where orientation comes in. That's where advocacy comes in. We must continually talk about it. So as at a year ago now, we got about an approval for more than 300 schools in Lagos from Lagos State Ministry of Education. We got an approval for drug abuse advocacy. All right? We are to engage more than 66,000 students, secondary students in Lagos State. That's the approval we got for Africa Bridge Initiative. So what does that mean? We must advocate and let them know the danger in that space. So we can have what? A clearer mindset for the future economy. All right, so when we talk about Africa, liberating Africa, okay, what do we mean? We are talking about looking more inward. Don't forget, Africa can only be developed by Africans. It's a cliche which I cannot deviate from in any form, in any way. So what does that mean? I am not saying that we do not need any foreign aid or any support from America. Okay, let me give you an example. As at August 2024, Africa Bridge Initiative, we got into partnership, a 5-year partnership with a UK-based university, talking about Bournemouth University. So that partnership, we're going to leverage on it, talking about research and development, talking about technological development, talking about innovation, talking about what? Bringing out new creativity minds out of Africa. So what does that mean? This particular solution, this particular partnership is coming from Africa. It's not coming from UK. We develop the proposal. We develop what we need for the youth. And they saw the benefit and say, oh, this is what you guys have been doing. We met the professor and we had a synergy with the professor at on the island last year. And from there, we started the process. And that process took us more than a year. But don't forget, we develop the process. If you don't develop the process, you cannot get the result. No external factor will develop the process for you because they do not understand the environmental challenge that is peculiar to your problem as a country. All right. So when we talk about syllabus, when we talk about technology, we are looking at history. What is the past, the present, before we look at the future? So we can see a policy now. The history as a course, as a subject, is coming back to secondary school. It's coming back to primary school. It's going to be part of the university. We must understand where we're coming from as a people. If you don't understand where you're coming from, you can't just jump into technology. Technology is like an ocean these days. It's more than a sector because it encapsulates the entire sectors of the economy of the world. If you're in a Greek, you must have technology. If you are into health, in fact, health now, there's no survivor in the health sector without what? Technology. Because now everybody's talking about electronic medical system. Everybody's talking about what? Telemedicine. All right. Now you can even go on YouTube and you are talking to a doctor and already a physician is talking to you from Canada and you're already having your cesarean section in Nigeria. That's power of technology. But don't forget, before you can look at YouTube or other forms of media to look at how you can perform a particular surgical procedure in Nigeria, you must understand the peculiarity of that nature of that woman in Nigeria, in Lagos. So what does that mean? Africa, Nigeria can only be developed by Nigerians. So what does that mean? We evolve our developmental process from internally. Then the external world will be eager and will be what? The solution will now be sustainable. But if the development solution is not internally generated, then it's not sustainable. That is what we do. And that's what we're saying as a sustainable development organization, talking about 3 and 4 SDG and talking about their partnership for the goal, talking about the SDG 17. We have looked at it that, okay, we need mentorship for our youth. We need mentorship. And the kind of mentorship we are not looking at, we are not looking at mentorship whereby a young boy in the village is aspiring to be like Warren Buffett. No, that's not mentorship. We're talking about a child to a mentor, a student to a teacher. For instance, in Lagos State as of today now, the new Commissioner of Education has directed that every secondary school principal must go back to classroom. That is mentorship. That is intentional mentorship. So what does that mean? An average student is now seeing a principal lecturing him, teaching him in the classroom. So he's excited that, oh, if my principal can teach me, can give me the foundational process on how to get my master's, to get my PhD, it becomes handy. It becomes easy, attainable for him or to say, if my principal can do it, I can do it because he's seeing the principal. The principal is in front of you. That is practical mentorship. But beyond that practical mentorship, we have also developed some syllabus right now from Africa Bridge Initiative, whereby we are going to be meeting some mentors who are scholars at Bournemouth University, our new partner. So some of them will be coming to Nigeria to meet some of our students. That, okay, you are into video, you are into the what? You are into the creative mind, or you are into animation, or you are into what? Programming. Okay, this is what I've done in the last 20 years of my life. Okay, can I adopt 5 of your students who are into animation? Then they come over there, they understudy under student that I teach in my university. Then they can understand how to what? How to leverage on the benefit and opportunity in that world. Because it's something to understand a particular sector or a particular course of study. It's another thing to understand the benefit that is embedded in that sector. All right? Because if you don't understand the benefit, what do you think will drive you? Nothing drives you. It's just that I go to class, I read, I pass my book, I get my BSc, I get my PhD. Nothing is driving you. And that is why we are not having that mutual, even development that has been driven by the youth. So what we are preaching, teaching in Africa Bridge Initiative, that the new economy of Nigeria in the next 20 years should be driven, should be initiated by the youth. That's what we are saying. Because the older generation, very soon they are going to fade out of the system. The economy must be sustainable. So if we don't teach them right on how to take ownership of the economy, then the economy might not be sustainable in the next 20, 30 to 50 years of Nigeria.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.